associational missionary by the name of Moore that was our associational missionary, and it was during his service with the county that we had our tent revival. And then when Jim Rhodes came up, we had a revival out in the yard again. We didn't have a tent. We just carried the seats all out, set them out there, and had a platform and put the piano on it. And as well as I can remember, they had a canvas. They covered the piano up at night so the dew wouldn't get to it. And I think I'm right in saying that that was when Hillard and Harold Wistman made Professions with Faith, doing with Jim Rhodes's service with it. And a lot of young people did at that time, but to remember who they all were, I can't, but I know those two boys did.
And were they pretty well attended by the community out there? Or did they...
Yeah, we had big crowds. We had people, when we had our tent revival, we had crowds that we never had in the church while we had service in the church. They just come for a tent revival. Of course, many of them did come back, but then a lot of them didn't. They were just there, I think, for, I don't know why. Just it was an oddity, I guess, to have a tent revival.
And you remember any other revival speakers or any of those pastors, something about them that something was unique in the way they preached, or maybe a message even that sticks out in your mind?
I can't remember the man's name, but we had a tent revival. The man that was holding our revival at that time would get pretty loud with his preaching. And he'd get up on the front seat, stand up in the front seat, and sure give it to us. But I can't remember
He'd stand up on the seat.
Huh?
He'd stand up on the...
He'd stand up on the front seat. At that time, we just had benches like we got now, but they were old and not very good. He'd get up in one of them and just preach his heart out. But people didn't go for that too much. To move a church. And I don't recall whose funeral was going on at the time. But anyway, there was so many people came in to that church, and it must have been rather cool, or they would have all wanted inside. But there's many people came in there. I remember Alta's father was one of them that stood up in the southeast corner with a group of other people. Just, they were crowded in, what they were. And the floor fell through with them. And that was during Brother Hahn's time as our preacher. And he helped raise that church and put that foundation under it and put a new floor in it.
How many people fell through? Do you have any idea?
Huh?
How many people fell through? Do you have any idea?
Well, didn't anybody fall completely through. But they had, some of them had to be helped up because they fell down.
And we didn't have a piano then?
No, it was years before I had a piano, and some of our people, the older people, they thought a piano was the devil's tool. And they didn't much like it when they got the first piano. But Brother Hahn and Mr. and Mrs. Chappell, who were members, they lived south of where our place is out there. You know where we used to live?
Yeah.
They lived across the creek south there, and they went to Sedalia and bought a piano and brought there. But it seems to me like someone else had given us one before that. I can't remember for sure. But I know one time we went to a funeral there, and I don't remember whose funeral. And I'll tell you, that piano was so out of tune that it was pitiful. And my husband said to me after that funeral was over, he was sick then, I mean, he was beginning to be very ill with this cancer. And he said to me, he said, if I leave here before you do, he said, whatever you do, when you sell this place, you take 1/10 of it and buy a new piano for that church. And after I had my sale and got everything straightened up, Glenn, I think Glenn was with us, and Howard, and Phyllis, I'm not sure. 5 of us went up to Jenkins and bought this piano, and that's the first new piano the church ever had.
And that's the piano we're using today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And those, the preacher's pulpit up there and that table, you know, was given by Alton and Dillon in memory of Harold.
So, but now, whatever happened to the organ?
The mice had already eaten it up. You couldn't hardly play a tune on it. I think we gave it to the colored church. It's northwest of us, used to be. I don't think there's nothing there anymore. And we also gave them some of our old benches and the old piano we had, because they just didn't have no music at all. And we gave them the old piano and some benches when we bought our new benches. Our churchyard used to be more on the west side and less on the north side. And the north fence came up within 6 or 7 feet of our church. And there was a big tree out there, and the man that lived on the farm down there raised sheep. And those sheep gathered under that tree to get out of the sun. And that's back behind the school, back behind the church where I had my Bible school. And I couldn't hardly keep the children's attention for watching the sheep. They laid there and chewed their cuds, you know, and it was hot as all get out. We did that a good many years before we finally put an addition onto it.
What do you think it is that brought Mount Zion through all those hard years?
Well, I don't know how anybody else would feel, but I just thank the Lord that we grew and began to trust Him to help us keep the church going without doing things that was not really the Lord's will. And we started tithing in our church. And we have not had too much trouble since keeping our pastor. I miss very much going out there. I've been out there since Gail and Harold was married. I was there at their wedding. Since the last time I was there. I miss it very much. What I'd like to say is I just pray that the Lord will continue to bless Mount Zion, and that they will keep the doors open for years and years to come, even though I can't be there.